Hello students, welcome to second lecture of D and F block elements. In previous lecture we got some basic details regarding to D and F block elements and their positions in periodic table, and we also discussed about their atomic numbers and different type of series we have in D blocks. Now let's talk about these D blocks further. So as we discussed earlier, last element of each series we discussed in previous lecture has elements Zinc, Cd, Hg and Cn. So these elements actually do not have incomplete or partially filled d orbitals, and this is the requirement to have d block element status. That means if elements have incomplete or partial d orbital, then they are d block elements, but these last elements of this series is they do not have incomplete or partial filled d orbital in their any of the state, either in ionic or in atomic state. They have completely filled d orbital. So that's why they are not regarded as transition metals, but still we will include them in our studies. The d orbital of the transition elements protrude to periphery of an atom more than the other orbitals, that means sp orbitals. Hence, they are more influenced by the surrounding as well as affect the atom or molecule surrounding them. That means these elements are considered more versatile than other groups elements. In some respect, ions of the Dn configuration, D1 to 9 configuration, have similar magnetic and electronic properties. With partially filled d orbital, these elements exhibit certain characteristics properties such as display of variety of oxidation state, formation of colored ions, and entering into complex formation with variety of ligands. Now, last point, that means forming the complex formation with variety of ligands, is related to our other unit, coordinate complex compound, and this unit has some similarities with that unit as well, because as mentioned, majority of D and F block elements are able to form complex compounds with suitable ligands. Usually ligands are ions or molecules, and it contains electronegative elements which are able to donate electron pairs. And as a central element, our metals of D blocks will work and they will accept the electron pairs from the ligands. So these type of bonds are referred as coordinate covalent bonds, and that's why these elements are known as coordinate complex compounds, or in short, complex formations. The transition metals and their compounds also exhibits catalytic property and paramagnetic behaviors. We already know many different examples in which D block elements act as catalysts. All these characteristics have been discussed in detail later in this unit. There are greater similarities in the property of the transition elements of horizontal row in contrast to non-transition elements. However, some group similarities also exist. So we shall first study the general characteristics and the trends in the horizontal row, particularly 3D row, and then consider some group similarities. So first in detail we are going to study 3D series, and later remaining series will be discussed in short. So now let's talk about the properties, and mainly we are going to discuss it about first transition series in these following sections. So next point, general properties of the transition elements D block, and in this case first point is physical property. Nearly all the transition elements display typical metallic properties such as high tensile strength, ductility, malleability, high thermal and electrical conductivity, and metallic lusters. Now let's talk about the properties, what it means. So first point, high tensile strength. If you can load a high amount of mass on the substance, as for example, if we place a plate of the metal and then we put the weight on it, then if it is comparatively high tensile, then it can hold comparatively high amount of load without any fractures. Second, ductility, that means you can create wires by stretching the thing. It is called ductility. Malleability, that means by hammering it or by applying pressure we can create thin plates. Then high thermal and electrical conductivity, we know what it means, and metallic luster, that means metallic shine. When we cut metal piece, then freshly cut surface will appear shiny in nature. So here is a instrument which can measure the tensile strength of the material. As we can see here, we have our specimen and we have two different holding grips, and as this moving crosshead unscrews, this gap will increase. That means stretching will be applied on this specimen, and we are going to measure the weight or amount of force applied on that. If substance is high tensile, then you will get a comparatively higher answer without the breaking of specimen. And here is an example of metallic luster. So as you can see, we have two different metal pieces, or actually they are ores, and as we can see, they are shining. So metals have these type of shiny surfaces which is called metallic luster. And with the exception of zinc, cadmium, mercury and manganese, they have one or more typical metallic lusters at normal temperature. That means they will shine with different colors, and metals will seem same type of metal in different condition will give us different type of colors, shiny colors. Here formation of the lattices are mentioned. That means first three series are mentioned with their unit cell type or their arrangements of different type of layers. So all of them shows, as we can see, either BCC or HCP or CCP or combination of both. And certain metals, as we can see zinc or cadmium, they can show typical metal structure. That means their metallic structures are different from other metals. The transition metals are very hard and have very low volatility. Volatility, that means conversion into gaseous state. Their melting and boiling points are high, and figure 8.1 depicts the melting point of transition elements belonging to 3D, 4D and 5D series. So here we have the figure 8.1, that means graphical representation of melting points of given different series, and as we can see, we have comparatively very high value of their melting points, because each 1, 2 and 3 represented on y-axis are actually 10 raised to 3 Kelvin. So it represents, it is very high value. But certain cases, as you can see, you will see regularity in increase, then it will decrease. In certain cases you will see zigzag type of nature. So the high melting point of these metals are attributed to the involvement of greater number of electrons from n-1d in addition to ns electrons in the interatomic metallic bondings. In any row, the melting point of these metals rise to maximum at d5 except for anomalous values of Mn and Tc, and fall regularly as the atomic number increases. So that means it depends on the number of electrons present in it, and actually it depends on number of unpaired electrons present in d orbital. Up to 1 to 5, number of unpaired electrons will increase, and as we move from 6 to 10, it will start decreasing. That means let us see say this is our d orbital, and maximum number of electrons can be occupied in this case is number 10. So let's start with putting one electron, and if we place one electron, that means d1 configuration, then we have one unpaired electron. In d2 electronic configuration we have 2, in d3 we have 3, in d4 we have 4, and in d5 we have 5 unpaired electrons. But in d6 pairing will start, and that's why we have 4 unpaired electrons. In d7 we have 3, in d8 we have 2, in d9 we have 1, and in d10 we have 0 unpaired electrons. So as the number of unpaired electron increases, more and more stronger attraction towards each other in the metallic bond will be observed. So as the number of unpaired electron increases, more attraction, that means higher boiling points, and as the number of unpaired electron decreases, less attraction will result in lower melting points. So usually that's why initially rise in melting point will be observed as we move from left to right in the series, and then as we cross the d5, then number of unpaired electrons will start decreasing, and that's why melting points also decreases, exception Tc and Mn. They have very high enthalpies of atomization, which are shown in figure 8.2. The maxima about the middle of each series indicates that one unpaired electron per d orbital is particularly Favorable for strong interatomic interaction. That means we have total 5 different d orbitals, and each d orbital, if it contains one unpaired electron, that means in total we have 5 unpaired electrons. At that time it is favorable for strong interatomic interaction. So here we have graph with 3 different series, series 1, 2 and 3, and their atomic number increasing order, and on y-axis we have enthalpy of atomization. Now atomization, that means boiling of the substances. That means it is simply referred as atomization because when we boil the metals, it will separate out in simpler atomic states. Because boiling, that means increasing distance between two adjacent elements. In in solid state and liquid state, actually elements are very close to each other, or we can say that they are actually in contact with each other, but in case of gaseous state they are separate from each other. And metals are usually formed from metallic atoms, and that's why if you boil it, then we are actually vaporizing it, or we are separating their atoms from each other. That's why it is called atomization. Since the enthalpy of atomization is an important factor in determining the standard electrode potential of metals, metals with very high enthalpy of atomization tend to be noble in their reaction. That means noble metals have very high atomization reaction. See later for electrode potentials, we will discuss it in later points. Another generalization may be drawn from figure 8.2 is that the metals of the second and third series have greater enthalpies of the atomization than the corresponding elements of first series. This is an important factor in accounting for the occurrence of a much more frequent metal-metal bonding in compound of heavy transition metals. Heavy transition metals, that means we will increase the series and you will get comparatively heavier elements. That means we are talking about second and third series. Variation in atomic and ionic sizes of transition metal. In general, ions of the same charge in the given series shows progressive decrease in the radiance with increasing atomic number. This is because the new electron entered in d orbital each time the nuclear charge increases by unity. That means as the number of electron increases, as we move from left to right in series, number of protons also increases. That's why positive charge is increasing in nuclear center, and because of that attraction also increases. Now it may be recalled that the shielding effect of d orbital is not that effective. Hence the net electrostatic interaction between the nuclear charge and the outermost electron increases and the ionic radius decreases. That means if we increase the number of charge, positive charge, or if we decrease the number of electrons in outer surface, overall attraction between the electrons and nucleus increases, and that's why distance decreases. And if distance decreases, then obviously radiuses will shrink. The same trend is observed in atomic radii of given series. However, variation within a series is quite small. That means if you check the first element of the series and last element of the series, then obviously it will shrink down, but change will be negligible. That means there is not much difference in the atomic size of first element of the series and last element of the series. An interesting point emerges when the atomic sizes of one series are compared with those of the corresponding elements in the other series. The curve in figure 8.3, that means this figure, as we can see, figure 8.3 have, as we can compare the two different series or one different series. Let us observe the first series mentioned with green line. You will notice initially sizes of the atoms are highest, then it will start decreasing. After a certain point it will start increasing a little bit, and then we will reach at certain point at the end of the series. Similar trend is observed in other two series as well. So in figure 8.3 shows an increase from the first 3D to second 4D series of the elements, but the radii of third 5D series are virtually the same as those of the corresponding numbers of the second series. This phenomenon is associated with the intervention of the 4s orbitals, which must be filled before 5D series of the elements begin. That means in fourth and fifth transition series we have f orbitals present as well. If you check the periodic table, then you will notice between the fourth and sixth, fifth series, actually f orbitals are present in between, or f series elements are present in between, and that's why they also have f orbitals in them. And because of f orbitals, their nuclear charges will be comparatively very high, and because of that attractions also increases. The filling of 4s before the 5d orbital result in regular decrease in atomic radii called lengthened contraction, which essentially compensate for the expected increase in the atomic size with increasing atomic number. The net result of the lengthened contraction is that the second and third D series exhibits small radii, example zirconium 160 and hafnium 159. So very negligible minor differences, and have very similar physical and chemical properties, much more than expected on the basis of usual family relationships. So that means because they have lengthened contraction going on, their radiuses are very close to each other, their chemical properties are very close to each other, and their physical properties are very close to each other as well. Obviously, there is a weight difference or mass difference going on, because in fourth and fifth series, if we compare two elements present on same group, then obviously fifth series element will be comparatively much more higher in mass because of higher number of neutrons and protons in it. The factor responsible for the lengthened contraction is somewhat similar to the observed in ordinary transition series and is attributed to similar cause, that is the imperfect shielding of the one electron by other in the same set of orbitals. However, the shielding of one 4f electron by the other is less than that of the 1d electron by the other. And as the nuclear charges increases along with the series, there is fairly regular decrease in the size of entire 4fn orbitals. So as we know, f orbitals can occupy up to 14 electrons, maximum of all of the other orbitals. So possibly 1 to 14, fn represents 1 to 14. Now usual shielding of d orbitals will be more than f orbital, and reason behind that is d orbitals are usually closer than the f orbitals. The decrease in metallic radius coupled with the increase in atomic mass result in general increase in the density of the element, and thus from titanium to copper the significant increase in the density may be noted. And the density related data are mentioned in this 8.2 table. So in this table other many different details are also mentioned. So in short, you can study this table and then you can write the answers in brief. So you only have to refer during the exam time, you only have to refer this table mainly, and then later questions can be attained or described using these data. So first of all, let us quickly observe what it means or what is provided in this table. So as we can see, atomic numbers from scandium to zinc are mentioned with their electronic configurations in their atomic states and their three different possible ionic states. But some elements cannot show +3 oxidation state, and these elements are copper and zinc. Then we have enthalpy of atomization. So as we can see, we will see some irregularities in this case. So first 326, then 473 increased, then 515 again increased, then 397 it is decreasing, then 281 again decreased, then again 416 increment, 425 increment, 430 increment, then again drop 339 and 126 minimum. So variety of variations are being observed. Then we have ionization enthalpies, and we have three different ionization enthalpies. That means when we remove one electron, that means you will get +1 ion, then you will can release second electron, that means +2, then third electron, that means +3. So we can remove three different electrons from the given metal, and respectively you will get +1, +2 and +3 ions. So each removal of electron becomes more and more difficult. That's why first ionization enthalpies are always lower than second, and second are always lower than third. Then we have metallic and ionic radiuses. Again, three different possibilities: +1, +2, and zero oxidation states. So all of them are mentioned. Then standard electrode potentials are mentioned, which are already mentioned in electrochemistry unit. And lastly, we have density. So as the number of electrons, protons and neutrons increases in subsequential elements, their masses will increase, but because of attraction of electron and nucleus, they will shrink in size, and that's why density will increase. If shrinking occurs, then density will increase and if expansion occurs, then density will decrease, because with expansion volume increases but number of number of nucleons will remain same. That means mass will be constant but volume expands. That's why initial elements have very lower density, then it will increase up to maximum and then it will slightly drop at the last element. Now if you find any difficulty regarding to these points up to this table, then feel free to ask and we will move on our next topic in next lecture. Thank you.